Hi, everybody. This is Chris.
And this is Matt.
And this is Bruce Lee from 1984.
Yes. Yep. We had a near miss.
Near miss.
We had it as 94, but it was a typo because this came out in 94.
Our professionalism brought us back, pulled it from the brink. We fixed the date, and now we're here to bring you the show.
The polish you're used to.
Yes. Because, I mean,
yeah. Are you upset?
no, I'm just showing the polish they're used to with just a bunch of dead air.
Right. Exactly.
Anyway, if you're joining us for the first time and haven't already turned off, each month we play a couple games, a long game and a short game. This is a short game. We come back and we discuss our feelings on it. We do not review it. It's more of a book club format. Two assholes with opinions telling you what they thought of a game from 20 years ago.
Or more.
Or more. Yeah, 20 is our line.
Right.
And then it goes back. And in this case, almost 30?
Almost. Someone with a calculator could do the math, I'll bet. Some math major who watches.
36?
Unfortunately, it's impossible.
36 years. Holy crap.
Right.
Like this.
Can we just... Can we take a moment and just appreciate how fucking good this intro screen is?
Oh, that's what I was literally about to say. This was one of the first games I played on Commodore, and it blew my mind.
And the music is great on the intro screen as well. Mm-hmm. And I think maybe they shot their wad on the intro screen because there's no sound, there's no music in the rest of the game. Mm-mm. And like it doesn't really look that great, but now, I mean, being greeted with this awesome like picture of Bruce Lee, and it's got like the, the sweet background. Like you're like, this game is going to be badass.
Yep. So it was coded by Ron J. Fortier for Datasoft. We'll talk a little bit about Datasoft here in a second, but he did Goonies, Not Zorro, and Stunt Island, which I know is on our list to play. So
Stunt Island was a favorite of mine growing up, and I'm worried we're going to be disappointed in it.
Oh, most likely, yes.
I remember it being pretty fantastic and super cool because you could like set up cameras and stuff. But anyway, we're not here to talk about.
We're not here to talk about Stunt Island. We're here to talk about this. The graphics were by Kelly Day, who did the graphics for Goonies, Conan, and Zorro. So.
Yeah, and you can definitely see, like, later there's a statue. I think it's on the next screen to your right. Mm-hmm. And it, like, looks just like some of the shit in Zorro.
Yeah.
Probably a lesser extent Goonies, but, it like, there's definitely some Hallmark-style things that you can pick out.
And you might have noticed, like, we're mentioning, other than Stunt Island, we're mentioning IPs that Datasoft bought and cranked out low quality platform games. And I should say low quality, but I mean, it's a formula. They had a formula, they bought an IP, they stuck it on their platform. Because in no other way, if I didn't show you that title screen, tell me this is Bruce Lee.
Right. And that's the weird thing about these Datasoft platformers. And the thing is, before I start ditching on it, I want to say that I really like the formula. Mm-hmm. I think it was at its best with Conan.
Yes.
I think Conan was the best of these games. But it's like little kind of puzzly screens kind of linked together, some more than others.
Right.
With maybe a light combat element. And for the most part, it works pretty well. But also, like, what a fucked up application of some great intellectual property. It's like, can you imagine the meeting? Like, oh, we got IP rights for Conan. What do we do with it? And, like, should we make him punch camels and like fight James Earl Jones with a mullet? And they were like, or we could put him in a bubble and make him float over lava. Like, yeah, let's do that. We're like, Bruce Lee, like you got Bruce Lee. What should he do? Oh, he should fall really slowly and collect lanterns.
Well,
it doesn't make you feel like a badass karate guy to play this.
No. I want to read the sort of the back of some of that. We'll come back to it. Like my note here is, as a platformer, it's solid, even competent. But I don't play Zorro for trampolines, and I don't play Bruce Lee to dodge electric floors. The thing is, and this is the thing, Karate Champ, one of the first fighting games, is a year away. This is a year before that. Mm-hmm. There wasn't fighting games. That wasn't a concept in video games yet. And Datasoft, with their churning out platformers to take advantage of IP, they're not going to try something new. They're not out there pushing boundaries. They're making fun little games that has Bruce Lee on the title.
Right. And it was a different time for intellectual property
as
well. I know we always kind of talk about that. Like it today, it would be a huge deal if you scored the Bruce Lee intellectual property, and you would like have to honor Bruce Lee and make a really solid Bruce Lee game. Mm-hmm. Not so much in the 80s.
No one thought video games could make money really back then. I mean they did, obviously, because we had the 1983 crash and everybody tried to cash in on what somebody called a license to print money. But people weren't thinking, oh, I'm going to license my property to a video game and get rich. They thought they'd make some money maybe, and like it could be useful, but they didn't want to really worry about it. Not until like the early 90s. It'd be interesting to find out which game first sort of was the real switch in that IP. Because Ocean and those software companies also kept cashing in with things like RoboCop and stuff like that. And they'd buy up as many as they could cheaply. Mm-hmm. And crank out mixed quality of a game library, let's say.
Sure, yeah.
And again, simple formula. Run around, shoot things. Whatever the genre du jour of the day was, let's put our IP on the top of that, and everything else doesn't matter.
Yeah. And that's how you get this. And the thing is, I didn't hate this game. I think we hated Zorro, and you actually tried to salvage Zorro by making it into like updating it.
Yes.
And kind of learned through that process that it was unsalvageable.
So
I feel like as difficult as it is for us to make very definitive statements about video games, I feel like we can say Zorro was a pretty bad game.
Zorro is, in order to salvage Zorro, you have to change Zorro to it not being Zorro.
Right.
This, really the only thing wrong with it is the thing that's right with it, and that's that it's called Bruce Lee.
I mostly agree. There's definitely some playability problems I had with this. Like, the controls aren't very good. When the controls work well, it feels really good. You'll like notice little things like when I crawl across something, I crawl really fast. And when I crawl up something, this doesn't count because it's flowing downward.
Right.
But even the trellises and stuff, like it's not really consistent. It's hard to make him jump exactly the way you want him to jump.
Right.
The combat's a little bit this or that.
There's some of that I give to the game, and there's some of it that I give to, like, we were playing the Commodore version. You did try to play the DOS version, and we'll talk about that as well.
Yeah.
But you had clunky joysticks with one button.
Sure.
I'm not sure. What did you play on? What did you use to try and play this?
I used this fantastic C64 joystick.
Oh, very good.
That you sent me in the mail from Amazon, which I very much appreciate. Thank you.
No problem. It's a great way to play the Commodore games. It's, there's some people who are like, it's not completely authentic, but I don't have that many quality stick joysticks I can plug into a USB port, and I haven't gotten around to making an adapter for my 2600s, so.
Yeah. Who has the time?
I want to go back a little bit, though, because you talked about this sumo guy. He's not a sumo guy. But I want to start with the instructions because did you read the instructions?
I think I ripped through them real quick just to see what I was getting into, but I don't think I remember any of it.
I love that it starts out with an opulent, mysterious, and perilous fortress is the setting as Bruce Lee seeks to claim infinite wealth and the secret of immortality from the wizard who dwells within.
Opulent is generous. I mean, that whole thing is generous.
I know.
Yeah, and he's going to do it by stealing every one of their lanterns.
Yup.
That's what this game is about.
Yeah. It even says it in the thing. You've got to basically unlock each of the rooms by taking down... And it says in there, either all the lanterns or certain lanterns. Because some rooms, you don't need all the lanterns. You just need the right lanterns. Other ones, you need to get all the lanterns. And that's kind of inconsistent, and that's a problem. But
yeah, I mean, with every one of these games, kind of the fun thing about it is that you're just along for the ride, and you're kind of figuring it all out as you go.
Mm-hmm.
So, the fact that it's inconsistent and the directions are,
yeah,
a little overstated in how great the game is, I don't think that's really a mark against it.
So I think everyone knows the ninja's a ninja. Basically, you're going through 20 rooms, jumping over all this stuff. You're fighting a ninja and what they called, I'm going to mispronounce it, I'm sure, a Yamo. Y-A-M-O. So the green guy's Yamo. I looked up what that meant. It could mean a widower or a temple guard.
Okay.
I've decided I'm going to choose both. I feel like he lost his wife, dedicated himself to the temple, and turned to food for comfort, which is why he's so big. He's green because he's envious of everyone else.
Sure.
And
this game is so deep. Who knew?
I know. Before he became Yamo, his name was Giuseppe, and he liked playing Monopoly. So this is my backstory for the green guy.
I mean, the world just got so much richer for that. Thank you.
Just one little thing.
Now I feel bad for repeatedly kicking him in the face.
Don't. He's trying to eat you.
Yeah. Man, that slow fall though. Can we just take a second?
Yeah.
And appreciate how irritating it is that you fall slower than you walk.
Mm-hmm.
And so much of the game is falling through things on a timed basis.
Right.
And it's not easy to do it. And that's incredibly frustrating sometimes.
Yeah, the fall is too slow. It doesn't let you get a really good sense of timing when you need to time things. Right. My one tip for playing the game is the game is not on a timer. So when you get somewhere like here, take a moment. You're not in a hurry.
Right.
Line yourself up and take the shot.
Well, in the second chunk, there's a lot of this upward and downward flowing business that you have to climb on. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it's supposed to be. But the trick to it is that it reverses direction. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, I see. I need to noodle out what makes us change direction.
Yeah.
No, that's not the puzzle. The puzzle is that you fucking sit there and wait for it to change direction because that's just what it does.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
Mm-hmm. There are places where you do things to make it change direction, but not everywhere. And again, it goes back to the inconsistency of the game world and physics.
Yeah,
I do love knocking them into the exploding.
Oh, it's so good.
They called them bushes. We always called them pots as kids, that they were exploding pots. I don't know why.
Is that what they are? Yeah. I thought they were like trees of electricity.
Oh, that also. But no, it's exploding bushes.
Oh. Today I learned.
You're learning a whole bunch about the lore of Bruce Lee.
We really engaged our imaginations in this game between your Yamo rundown and my exploding
electric spark
pots. Yeah. You work with what you got.
Exactly. It's from 1984. There's a lot of you got to fill in some of the blanks yourself, and that's fine. I'm good with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a puzzle platformer, and you could stick any mascot in here, and it would be fine. I thought the controls, I didn't think they were as bad as you, obviously. But
I think the biggest.
But I'm not going to disagree with you either. Like, they could be tighter.
Yeah, I wanted the whole thing to be just a little faster, and I didn't like the slow fall, and I don't know. I didn't like that it was often difficult to jump in the fashion that I wanted to. But you are right that that's not entirely fair for me, to trot out as a complaint, because it's a Commodore game, and that's just like how it was. And you're right. You have one button on a joystick. There's not much you can do.
Right. I've always had a problem with games where it's push up to jump for as long as I've been. And it's because the joystick's sloppy. It's digital, but it's not digital. If you push a little too far one direction, you're going to find yourself jumping or climbing or doing something you didn't intend to do.
And that did happen to me a lot. Like, I often found myself doing stuff I didn't really want to do. And sometimes the stakes were higher, and sometimes it was just like mildly annoying. But it is frustrating to be on your last life and then get killed because you wanted to distance jump and you vertical jumped. But it's part of the game.
So I don't have too much of a problem with that. It's short and sweet. Like, I beat the whole thing in, like, I think 20 minutes, half an hour.
Yeah. I felt like it went off the rails a little bit in the third section when the lanterns change to those, like, tiny little sprites that you can barely tell are like these like the lanterns feel substantial, and like all of a sudden there's this like net stuff that you're kind of jumping across, and there's times when you climb up, like that happens at the end of the second section too. You climb up and all of a sudden you're in a totally different area.
Here's where you're talking about. I just bopped it over. Like in the first section it was kind of obvious what stuff you were going after. Here there's just a little dot blinking.
Yeah, you can see. Have you collected them here?
I've collected one but not two.
Oh yeah, there it is on the far right, that little hook and square thing with the blinking black pixel on it. Like, that's what you're after, and like you figure it out pretty quickly. But it felt like the whole thing just kind of changed pretty dramatically.
Yeah, there was a tone shift when you got into the castle proper, and that's fine, but I don't know. You want a game to teach you how it works, and then it might twist how it works, but it shouldn't just shift gears on you, completely.
Right. Yeah, and this one kind of did.
This one kind of did.
But for what it was fun. Like, I wasn't dreading the whole time I played it. It's like what I want out of a short game, really. So I don't really complain too much.
No, I think this is, in terms of our short game lists and stuff, this was about the perfect short game. It has enough to kind of... Oh.
Yeah, spoiler alert.
Yeah, spoiler alert. Here's the end.
And then, how do you defeat him?
You just grab the lantern on the far side.
Of course.
And he, like, tweaks out and disappears.
His whole empire is just based on these lanterns.
It's an all-lantern economy. Then you go through... And your guy just jumps over and over again.
And I thought this was fire the first time I saw it. It's treasure, right? It's Bruce Lee's new treasure hoard.
I thought it was fire till just now.
I think it's treasure.
It's a treasure hoard that's apparently electrified by those pots you were talking about earlier.
Sure.
And then just start over. It's slightly harder when you start over. There's in the first playthrough, there's some safe spots that they take away, and these guys move a little faster and I think take more hits. I don't know. I didn't keep playing.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
What did you think of the combat? Because you do punch and kick these two jabronis throughout the game.
It was pointless to me. I've never, and that's I think the most disappointing part. It just was pointless. Like Zoro at least tried to have a fighting mechanic. I don't feel like this did.
I feel like the experience of the combat was better in Bruce Lee than Zoro, because Zoro was way too easy, and they like tried to do something and failed.
Right. I feel like this nailed something that worked where Zoro tried to do something different.
Yeah.
So, and it didn't try to do much different. Don't get me wrong. Like, it wasn't breaking new ground. It just...
Yeah, I appreciate that you can run through them and kind of spar with them. So it's not like if they touch you, you die like Mario.
You're right.
You like have to have timing and understand where their hitbox is. So there's some skill involved, and you can knock them around, you can knock them into traps, and like that. It does things, but they never go away. They're kind of like always there, but you don't really feel pursued by them because they're just like another thing that annoys you.
They're part of the puzzle. How do I get them to stand where I want so I don't have to deal with them? Rather than, I'm going to be Bruce Lee and go Bruce Lee on these guys.
Right.
Yeah. So, I don't know. And it sounds like we're ditching on the game. Like, the problem is the rest of it's competent. So the only thing to talk about in this game are the parts where it's not. Because there's nothing good. There's nothing, oh my God, do you remember this thing that we can say and really get excited about, other than the title screen?
Right. Which, still fantastic.
Still fantastic. And the initial music, still fantastic.
Yeah.
And then you're 5 minutes in and the rest of it is a competent platformer. The end.
Yeah. Yeah, and like it's paced pretty well, I think, because you do get to new areas, and it does kind of change up a little bit and introduce like you don't have to duck until like the third section really, and there's other like elements that change. There's like more projectiles as you go through, so like it does new things, and it's not just like another get the lantern screen, and Datasoft is good about doing that.
No, they had the formula tightened down for this one. I was just thinking to myself, if you called this Loose Bee and you were being chased by a frog and a spider, this would be exactly the same game.
Loose Bee. And I'm sure you don't have to pay...
You wouldn't have to pay any royalties.
The Bruce Lee estate.
Yeah, change the green guy to like a frog thing, change the black guy to a spider, change the ninja to a spider, and then you get like a bee costume, and your name's Lucy, and you're Lucy Bee, and you're running around collecting flowers, but everything else is physically the same.
Yeah.
It would be exactly the same game. You wouldn't care.
Right. And it would be appropriate too, because Datasoft also made a game that I love, Dung Beetles. So it would be like a shift to their other kind of insect-based intellectual properties.
The Datasoft multiverse.
Yeah. It includes both the Goonies and Dung Beetles.
They exist in the same Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's the Datasoft Commodore universe.
God help us.
2020 has gotten darker than I expected.
Yeah. What's going on with your video here? Are you at the end?
Yeah, I just paused it, I guess.
I see. Mine crashed. Like I today I came to the realization I wasn't going to get as far as I wanted. So I used the cheat.
Yep.
In the
unlimited lives
playing. Yeah. But it eventually crashed, and I suspect that's why.
Probably.
Like I rolled the death counter or something, and it overflowed, and it was just
it
just crashed on me. So I didn't get. I think I got like to the end of the third section, so I was pretty far into it.
Yeah, that's fine though. the other option is, save states. You got a Commodore. If you want to play this game, that would be my suggestion. Play it through, get to when you find yourself hitting like a spot where you're dying, do a save state, push through. You're not going to spend a lot of time struggling on any one of the puzzles in this game or any one of the rooms.
No, it's not. They're not really like. I think Conan was successful because you kind of had to take some leaps of faith. You kind of had to like look at how the systems on the screen interact, and there's less of it here. There's still a lot of leaps of faith that you have to take, and just like trust. Okay, when I grab this lantern, something's gonna open up, and I'm gonna not be stuck in this hole with the electrical shit. Like there's a few times in the game where you do that. But it really doesn't require any reasoning on the player's part.
Conan was like, we're going to push Zorro out because Zorro just failed.
Zorro didn't count.
Failed. So we got Conan, Goonies, and Bruce Lee. I think Bruce Lee is like a great intro level to the Datasoft universe. That's a thing that exists now, by the way, the Datasoft universe.
Right.
I think Goonies is the next step up because it does more of the actual puzzly puzzles than this does, but doesn't have a lot of combat, doesn't have a lot of things you're really dodging. It's just, how do I solve these puzzles? And then Conan, if you can do the other two, go on to Conan and see if you can make that happen, because the last few levels of Conan are brutal.
Yeah. You try and fail a lot in that game.
Which is probably the most Conan thing about it.
Right. Well, I was thinking about it today because my favorite thing about Conan is that scene where he punches the camel and knocks it out. Like, that's a timeless cinematic moment. And I was like, did Conan totally fail to deliver on that? I was like, well, you do throw a sword at a bird.
Yeah.
So it's like, you're closer there.
Right.
Like, there's no, like, Bruce Lee movie where he collects fucking lanterns, though.
No, but, like, a barbarian running around throwing axes, I feel like that's on brand. Bruce Lee not getting in a 5-minute fight with a bunch of guys, like 87 guys all flying all over the place. I want that from my Bruce Lee game.
Right.
I want to at least hear some high-pitched "twah" as he jump kicks, and you don't get that either. Nothing.
I know. The jump kick is pretty solid, though.
Yeah.
I liked it. The punch is pretty much useless.
You never use that.
I think that's the only two attacks, right? There's no, like, low kick or anything like that.
No. So, and that's just it. It's fine. It's competent. It does what it needs to do, but... Do you have a pinnacle and pit in this game?
My peak was watching your playthrough, and there's a part where you are on the net. You're like on a net, and the guy's above you, and you're like punching, and then you like finally like nail him, and then you pop up and run around. And I was like, that was the experience I wanted to have. I don't think I had it. But it was a great moment
to see.
I guess my personal peak is in that first section when the floor opens and they like wait for you to get on the screen to show you it opening.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, this is classic Datasoft. This is what I want. It's not going to be Zorro.
Right.
I'm going to be okay. I'm not going to want to like kill myself for the next hour while I play this,
Right. So what's your pit?
My pit was I think, well, my pit was when it crashed and I was like on the road to beating it. But I think there were quite a few times when I felt defeated by the game engine. Where like he fell too slow through something. Like that happened a lot, and I think each time it was kind of like a little pit.
Yeah, just added up over time so that it cumulatively is your pit.
Yeah.
What about pinnacle you? Is obviously beating the game. Having finally, after 30 some years, beat the game. That's great. Because normally I didn't care. Like, I'd get and I'd lose my guys the first time. I'm like, oh, well, I played Bruce Lee again. And I'd put it away for another 2-3 years and then pull it out and go, oh, played Bruce Lee again. So sitting down and forcing myself to beat it was nice. The Pit is oddly the moment you said, but only because I don't remember the moment you said. I never felt like I was kicking ass as Bruce Lee. I never felt like I had the moment you saw as the player.
Yeah. Yeah. And maybe it doesn't exist. And maybe I just like saw what happened to you and imagined that it would feel good, but really in the game it probably didn't
because
feel like anything.
By the time you get to that point, you'd given up on combat as part of the game. You're starting to view it as a puzzle, and that's really unfortunate. There needed to be something more. I would have liked to see something like he has to jump kick down doors and stuff. Just something where you do more kicking. If you got a martial arts game and you're jumping and running and not kicking, I don't know that you get what this is about.
Yeah.
And having it, I know it's on the Commodore, so you can't go too fast, but you can fall faster. Like, that is not a limit. There are plenty of games where you fall plenty fast.
Right. Like that, right there.
Mm-hmm.
So annoying. Yeah.
Right.
It asks you to time things that aren't, like, logical or realistic.
Right.
And that's annoying.
And it's not respectful of my time. Like, I think I probably could have cut 10 minutes of game time out if we just fell at a reasonable pace.
Totally. And having to wait for these fucking things to reverse flow is like, when you're playing, like, it feels like 1,000 years.
Like, this is the one where you get that lamp and it reverses flow. But other levels, no, you're right. It goes over time.
Right. Yeah. Well, I'd say it's worth a play if you like the other Datasoft games. Mm-hmm. It's not Zorro.
It's not Zorro. If you want a like nostalgic Commodore era, Apple II era trip, this was originally out on the Atari computers, so maybe find it on that too. Maybe there's some controls that are better on that.
Don't find it on the DOS version.
Oh my god,
that thing is so hideously ugly, and the controls are so bad. I don't know if I was in the wrong video mode, so I downloaded a ROM.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I know. I'm sorry, everyone. And started it in DOSBox, and I was like, "This is fucked up. Like, this ROM is just broken." So I went to another site where you can do it like in the browser, and I started it up, and it looked just as bad. And I think the controls were worse, but maybe they weren't just because I couldn't see anything because it was like a purple and pink soup of giant pixels. Don't fuck with the DOS version. That's my advice.
It was 1984. You had EGA, you had CGA. I don't know if you had EGA everywhere yet. And you have a company that's not going to put in the effort. They want to get it out as fast as possible. Mm-hmm. Don't, if you have that combination of things, just presume the DOS version doesn't exist. I do like the animations. Like here's one of the things I'll also say about the combat. Like we just watched. Let me pop back here. Where am I?
Yeah, pop it back. We got time.
Okay. So let's watch Yamo here punch Bruce Lee.
Yeah.
Because
there he goes, chunking along.
Good.
Bam.
Boom. And then he's going to hit me again. Bam. That slide back. I mean, they were really close to having something interesting.
Yep.
Really close.
Yeah. If the combat flowed a little better, if there were like a hint of Ninja Gaiden in it,
something.
It would have been.
Yeah.
It would have been great. But
I'd have loved the ninja to throw ninja stars, and you have to use that punch to like punch him out of the air. That'd have been Bruce Lee.
Right. Like he could light a match with nunchucks. Like, just let me do something.
I forgot about that, but yeah, he can he?
Yeah, like so good. But Anyway, don't be mad at it. If you're like a Bruce Lee purist, probably don't play it because you're going to be upset. But I mean, come on.
All right. Let's talk about our next long game, Maniac Mansion. Spooky times for Halloweens. So here we go. I've started playing it. Do you have a platform you're going to play this on or have been playing this on?
Yes, DOS. I'm playing the DOS version.
I'm playing the Commodore version because I heard the Apple II Commodore was the original platform for this. So I'm giving that a try. I'll probably go back and play the DOS version on and off just because this is a puzzle game. So you want to solve puzzles. And not to talk too much about it, but the interface of the Commodore speed of a joystick selection as opposed to a mouse. Spoiler. Mouse is a superior input device for choosing things off a menu.
No shit.
I don't think you need to wait 2 weeks, 3 weeks to hear us say that.
Right.
So that's what we're going to talk about in a few weeks. And then our next short game I've been wanting to play for a while, Airborne Ranger.
A great cover.
Well, this is actually an ad, but the cover is very similar.
Right. That's right. You're switching to ads.
I'm switching to ads for the previews. Yeah, because I mean that's what they were supposed to do, right? Tease people into wanting it.
Right.
The premise is, so Microprose at the time was doing simulation games. And I remember reading an interview with the guy who's like, basically I was making an arcade action game, but I pitched it to them as you're simulating being a ranger, and they went for it anyway.
Yeah.
So just to kind of preface everyone with what they're getting, I played a lot of this game as a kid.
Yeah, you've referenced it in our private conversations.
Yeah.
Before. So I'm excited about it. I'm gonna play it.
Don't get too hopeful. I mean, it's not like the greatest game ever made, but I did play a lot of it.
Have you ever known me to be overly hopeful about anything?
Auto Duel. We were both overly hopeful about Auto Duel.
That's true. That is true. And you got me.
Then I downplayed Fantasy, and you're like, you lowered my expectations, and I liked the game more. So I try to make sure I balance expectations now going in with.
Good call.
Yeah. So that's this one, and yeah, we'll be talking about that in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Anything else we need to say, worry about, talk about? Join us on Discord and all that jazz in the links below.
Yep.
You know who we are, what we are.
Yep. This is what you get.
Two
I'm
friends.
in this room all the time. This is.
Yeah, I'm going to shut off the camera now and just sit here patiently.
Yep, until the next time the camera comes on. Thinking about Commodore.
It's sort of a Mystery Science Theater thing. We're not in control of when we record. A little light goes on.
It just happens.
We got to run to the computer.
Yep. It's a sad life. But.
It is, but it's ours. Oh my God, I kind of wish that was true. All right. Anyway, we'll talk to everybody next time. Bye.
All right. Thanks for watching. Bye.
Big thank you to all of you watching, sharing, liking, subscribing, suggesting games, commenting on our videos, or supporting us on Patreon. We appreciate all of your support and look forward to sharing many more videos with you. Thank you again.